A family of 3 got into a car accident while traveling, and when they woke up, they found themselves transported into a story about a real and fake heiress. My biological parents became my adoptive parents, and I became the abused female protagonist. The system said that by accumulating heartbreak points according to the original setting, we could return to the real world and even receive a large sum of money as a reward. We were overjoyed, that very day, carrying large and small bags. I dragged my parents to the doorstep of my wealthy biological parents' home. The fake daughter looked at me, her eyes immediately welling up with tears. Since my sister has returned, then, I'll just leave. I smacked my lips, pulled her back, and directly pushed my adoptive parents in front of my wealthy biological parents. Uncle, Auntie, I know you are my biological parents, but my adoptive parents have raised me for so many years, so I'm definitely closer to them, from now on. My adoptive parents and I will live here together, you'll agree, right? The system screamed. Sis, what are you doing? They're the ones who abused you. You should lower your head with reddened eyes, shed tears, and timidly say, it's okay, sister has lived with mom and dad for so long, she should be here. The next second, a prompt sounded, heartbreak value +5. Hearing the system's prompt, the 3 of us almost couldn't hold back our laughter. Fortunately, the 3 of us were close to each other and managed to pinch one another, barely holding it in. You, Alice Smith, what do you mean by this? Mom and dad brought you back, and you still want to bring along your poor parents. You call them mom and dad, but you call your biological parents uncle and aunt. This person pointed at me, his originally somewhat handsome face now twisted. It must be my wealthy brother, Kevin Smith. Sure enough, I glanced at my wealthy parents, who were now red-eyed, their arms outstretched as if to hug me, but their movements had frozen. The reason I dared to use methods that would increase their heartache was because I was certain that the original host's wealthy parents still loved her. After all, before the original host went missing, she was their little princess, and the whole family revolved around her. However, now, this love follows a first-come first-served order. It's true that they love the original host, but it's also true that they love the fake heiress even more. If I were to follow the original storyline, the real heiress would be framed by the fake heiress time and again. The wealthy parents would side with the fake heiress repeatedly, and in the end, the real heiress would be sent to a boarding school to learn obedience. The original host was tormented to the point of being neither human nor ghost, and in the end, unable to bear it, they jumped from a building and committed suicide. The system was shocked. After the original host's death, the family suddenly became overwhelmed with affection and regret. I really don't understand. If they loved them, why did they only learn to cherish them after losing them? I won't stand for this anger. I coughed awkwardly and said, sorry about that. I'm not used to calling strangers mom and dad. I've been calling them that for over 10 years. So it's hard to change all of a sudden. And this gentleman, I am Alice Lincoln. The household register clearly states I'm the young lady of the Smith family. Haven't I been staying at home all along? I glanced at Sarah Smith beside me intentionally or unintentionally, then gave my parents a look. They understood instantly. My mom pretended to hit me. You silly girl, you still won't change how you address us after seeing your own parents. I'll teach you a lesson. I made a funny face and ran behind my dad. My dad looked at her, shielding me behind her, and said, oh, let Alice call me whatever she wants. Seeing the 3 of us roughhousing, the wealthy parents awkwardly took a few steps back. Sarah Smith never expected this outcome and stood there in a daze, staring wide-eyed at Kevin Smith. Then I heard the system prompt, heartbreak value +10. I was delighted. Not bad. In previous stories about real and fake heiresses, the real one would return only to be isolated while watching their family's warm moments. But now, our family of 3 is isolating everyone else. My wealthy parents, David Smith and Jane, broke the awkward silence first. Jane wanted to come over and hug me. Alice, you are the daughter of the Smith family. From now on, your last name will be Smith. I sneered inwardly. They were saying nice things now only because Sarah Smith hadn't started causing trouble yet. I pretended to think it over. Changing my last name to Smith isn't entirely out of the question. But you should hold a press conference to announce that I am the true daughter of the Smith family, and that Sarah Smith is just an orphan you adopted. Upon hearing this, Sarah Smith's whiny voice chimed in again. Mom, Dad, my sister is right. you should hold a press conference. That way, as she spoke, she broke down in tears. The person Jane wanted to hug immediately changed, and Kevin Smith and David Smith also gathered around her, offering words of comfort all at once. I sighed at the right moment. Good, then let's not change it. I'll move in with my parents, and you can let Sarah Smith continue living here. That way, it's fair. Now both David Smith and Jane had nothing to say. Sarah Smith finally stopped crying. David Smith and Jane came to my side again, each affectionately holding one of my arms. Alice, come pick a room with us. Choose whichever one you like. Your childhood room. We've kept it for you. If we hadn't lost you, then you. Looking at their expressions of guilt and regret, I didn't push them away. After all, they deserved a chance for some close contact. The deeper the emotional bond, the more satisfying it will be to torment them later. As soon as we reached the upstairs, Sarah Smith opened a door to reveal a room awash in soft pink, looking every bit like a princess's chamber. She smiled innocently and said, "Sister, this is my room, and it's the one with the best sunlight. Sarah is giving it to you, Sarah. You're only staying in this sunroom because of your poor health. How could you give it up to her?" Before I could say anything, Kevin Smith became agitated, giving up the room, a classic plot in the true and false heiress trope. After Sarah Smith said this, although Mr. and Mrs. Smith didn't directly express it like Kevin Smith, their words still showed favoritism towards Sarah Smith. Finally, the original owner voluntarily chose the smallest, darkest, and most remote room. But I'm not the original owner, and I have no interest in which room I live in. I suddenly broke free from Mr. and Mrs. Smith's arms and pulled my parents to the largest master bedroom. I knew this was Mr. and Mrs. Smith's bedroom. I pushed the door open and pulled my parents inside. "Mom, Dad, this room is huge. You two should stay in here." I turned around. "Uncle, Auntie, my parents have worked hard their whole lives to raise me until I was 18. They always gave me the best of everything and wore themselves out doing it. This room is big and bright. Let my parents have it." Alice Lincoln, "Are you crazy? This is Mom and Dad's room." Kevin Smith was the first to lose his temper. Sarah Smith also exclaimed, "Sister, how could you? Auntie, Uncle, is that not allowed?" I interrupted her, turning to look at Mr. and Mrs. Smith. "All these years, they've given me a home, a warm meal, and warm clothes. I remember you telling me when I was little that I should repay kindness." Repaying kindness. That was indeed the first story they had told the original owner when she was a child. Back then, the original owner, just a little one, had pestered them about it. Now, they must be heartbroken. Mrs. Smith indeed took a deep breath, as if she had aged several years in an instant, and waved her hand with great difficulty, her voice hoarse. "Let them live here. We'll move out. Thank you, Uncle and Aunt. You're really too kind." My parents also caught my glance. My mother nervously rubbed her hands and said to Mrs. Smith, "Thank you, dear. This child is really sensible. All those years of raising her with love weren't in vain." My father immediately nodded, his tone carrying the sincerity of an old farmer. "Yes. It's good to enjoy life now, but Alice is your child, and she will surely be filial to you in the future." The three of us stood together, echoing each other, completely shutting Mr. and Mrs. Smith out. I happily pulled my parents inside and slammed the door shut, leaving the others outside. Heartbreak value plus 20. The system let out a sharp shriek. "Host, what kind of move is this? I've never seen it before." As I helped my parents pack their luggage, I sighed and said, "Don't get it. This is called precision strike, learning to use their guilt and expectations." My mother lay on the big bed and asked me, "Alice, how much is the heartbreak value?" I did a quick calculation. "It's already 35. My dad was shocked. "So soon? It seems we only have a few days left before we go back. Then we must really enjoy this big villa and luxurious house. Once the mission is completed, not only can we go back with the bonus, but we can also let my parents enjoy the luxurious mansion they haven't lived in for half their lives." Before I knew it, it was time for dinner. My parents and I went downstairs. Mr. and Mrs. Smith had a seat between them, while the remaining 2 seats were across from them. It was clear they wanted me to sit beside them. Without any hesitation, I plopped right down, looking at the things on the table I had never seen before. I smiled. The original protagonist of the novel was mocked by Sarah Smith for never having seen these things. The original protagonist could only bury her head in eating rice, while Mr. and Mrs. Smith didn't say a word to Sarah Smith. This time, I took the initiative. Wow, so much food. It seems Sarah has been living really well all these years. My parents and I have never had anything like this. Mrs. Smith paused for a moment, then immediately picked up a piece of truffle for me, her voice trembling. Then, Alice, eat more, but I didn't even glance at it. Instead, I directly brought the caviar from the table to my parents and said, Mom, Dad, I've seen this before. It's caviar, you should eat more, it's good for your health. My mother's face wrinkled with laughter. Oh, you silly child, why did you bring it all over here? Mrs. Smith, look at this kid, so filial, isn't she? Mrs. Smith's hand, still holding that piece of truffle, froze mid-air. She couldn't pull it back. Nor could she hand it over, and she was so choked up that her eyes turned red. I saw the red wine by Mr. Smith's hand again, and it looked really delicious. I casually picked it up and handed it to my dad, saying, Dad, this wine looks really good. Give it a try. My dad smacked his lips and chuckled happily. Hey, you know what? It really is quite tasty. You all should have some too. Alice Lincoln, how could you be so rude? Mom and Dad are still here. You, Kevin Smith stood up anxiously, his hand trembling as he pointed at me. I immediately lowered my head, my eyes red as I looked at Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Uncle, Auntie, I'm really sorry. I've never seen these things before, so I got a little too excited. My parents and I are used to joking around like this, and I forgot for a moment that you were here too. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Smith immediately told Kevin Smith to be quiet. It's okay, Alice. Let's take it slow and get used to things gradually. I glanced up and saw, wow. It had increased by another 10. Sarah Smith, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Sis, did you just finish the college entrance exam too? The scores are coming out tomorrow. You must have done pretty well, right? Oh, I almost forgot if she hadn't mentioned it. I just finished the college entrance exam, I said while eating. Just average, nothing special. Top 3 in the province. It has to be said. The original host was truly talented and hardworking, consistently ranking in the top 3 in the province during practice exams. Humph. Hearing my words, Sarah Smith laughed even more happily. Kevin Smith also sneered. Then that's not very good. Sarah is in the top 100 in practice exams. Mr. Smith coughed lightly. Alice, it's okay if you didn't do well on the exam. Our Smith family can still afford to support you. The 3 of us almost burst out laughing when we heard that. In the end, the 3 of us enjoyed the meal, feeling warm and satisfied. Mr. and Mrs. Smith wanted to say something but couldn't get a word in, and the food tasted like wax to them. The next day, I slept so comfortably in the big bed that I didn't come downstairs until after 10 o'clock, rubbing my eyes, but I saw the living room was already packed with reporters, all carrying their cameras and equipment. As soon as they saw me coming down, they immediately rushed over. Alice Lincoln, as this year's top scorer in the college entrance exam. Do you have any tips to share? May I ask how you have been holding yourself accountable over the past 3 years? May we interview your parents? I almost forgot about this. In the novel's setting, the original protagonist was also a top scholar, but when the reporters came for the interview, Sarah Smith suddenly fell seriously ill, and the whole family went to take care of her, leaving the original protagonist alone to face all the reporters. But now Mr. and Mrs. Smith stood proudly behind me, immediately straightening their clothes. Mr. Smith even cleared his throat, ready to speak, but I quickly stepped around them, pulled my plainly dressed parents in front of the camera, and said with a bright smile, of course, these are my parents, who have worked hard to raise me for over a decade. Interviewing them is most appropriate. My mother nervously rubbed the hem of her clothes and said, there's not much to share, really. It's mainly because the child is sensible and willing to learn. My father nodded honestly. Yes, the child knows how to work hard. I affectionately linked arms with them, and the 3 of us were full of joy in front of the camera. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who were left aside, had their smiles completely freeze, their outstretched hands awkwardly hanging in midair. Mr. Smith's face turned from red to pale, and Mrs. Smith, watching our intimate closeness, had a look full of disappointment and embarrassment in her eyes. After the reporters had all dispersed, Mr. Smith couldn't hold back any longer. He furrowed his brows and coldly questioned, "Alice, we are your biological parents. What did you mean by that just now?" I laughed bitterly in my heart. Is this family really so shameless and hypocritical? But on the surface, I put on an expression of grievance and understanding. "Uncle, Auntie, wasn't it you who said that we should consider Sarah's feelings, that we couldn't reveal my identity publicly?" I was just doing as you instructed." As I spoke, I stepped forward and took their arms. "Uncle, Auntie, you are my biological parents, and I've always remembered that, but my adoptive parents have raised me for so many years too. You are all my family, and there's no distinction between you." My words completely shut them up. Mr. Smith choked on his breath, his face turning bright red. Mrs. Smith opened her mouth, glanced at Sarah Smith, who was tearing up again, and ultimately said nothing, only letting out a sigh. Kevin Smith pulled Sarah Smith forward and said, "Mom, Dad, Sarah also did really well on her exams. Let's hurry up and prepare for her college celebration dinner tonight." That evening, the Smith family held a grand celebration for the college admission, of course. It was only for Sarah Smith, since my identity hadn't been made public, and naturally, the celebration couldn't be without the classic trope of the fake heiress framing the real one. Just as I was waiting for it, Sarah Smith slowly wandered over to my side with a glass of champagne. "Sister, congratulations on doing so well," she smiled innocently, "but Mom and Dad don't seem too happy, especially since you let the reporter interview someone else during the day. If you hurt me, do you think they'll kick you out?" Before I could say anything, she pretended to fall backward toward the staircase behind her. In the blink of an eye, my mom grabbed her by the collar and pulled her back. "Oh dear, be careful." Sarah Smith was choked until her eyes rolled back, and she was yanked back forcefully. Almost at the same time, my dad used his plumbing strength arms to pin her down, and the two of them held Sarah Smith in place at the top of the stairs like they were carrying a pig. Sarah Smith was still struggling when my dad slipped, and with a cry of, "Oh no," he tumbled down the stairs. Lincoln, my mom immediately sprang into action. Meanwhile, Sarah Smith, who had been let go, stumbled and landed hard on the floor. I rushed down the stairs to support my dad, pushing past Mr. and Mrs. Smith as they hurried over. Seeing that my dad only had some minor scrapes, I still angrily pointed at Mr. and Mrs. Smith. "Uncle, Aunt, how could you do this? I already said it's my freedom to choose who to interview. Why did you instruct Sarah Smith to use such methods to hurt my parents?" My sudden accusation left Mr. and Mrs. Smith completely stunned. Mr. Smith looked utterly bewildered. "What do you mean I instructed her?" I lowered my head, wiping away a few non-existent tears. "Just because you're my biological parents, should I abandon my adoptive parents? But they've raised me for over a decade." As soon as I said this, everyone present was shocked. Sarah Smith was also completely stunned, because the plot had already gone completely off track. I stood up, pointing at the bewildered Mr. and Mrs. Smith, trembling all over. "As long as you apologize to my parents, I won't pursue this matter any further. I still consider you my biological parents." Mr. Smith was the first to react. The great Mr. Smith. Why should I apologize to him? Mrs. Smith also chimed in. "Alice, this must be a misunderstanding. It has nothing to do with us. We can't apologize for something that isn't our fault." I glanced at the heartbreak meter, and it was rapidly climbing. Mr. Smith's chest heaved, his eyes red as he stared at me. "Alice, you've gone too far. We are your biological parents, even if they raised you all these years. You were born from us. Blood is thicker than water, and now you're asking us to apologize for them. Besides, this matter has nothing to do with us." Mrs. Smith's tone was filled with restraint and heartache. "Alice, it's one thing that you haven't called us Mom and Dad these past few days, and we didn't say anything about letting them stay in our room, but now, I scoffed. "For over a decade, not a single day has passed without us thinking of you. Not a single day have we lived without guilt, and now that you're back, is this how you repay our hopes for you? Good, what a perfect example of, blood is thicker than water." My voice trembled, but every word was clear. "Then let me ask you, putting aside the matter of biological parents, shouldn't you apologize for scheming to have Sarah Smith push my dad down the stairs? Mr. Smith's face turned from ashen to purplish red, and Mrs. Smith even staggered backward, pointing at me, but Kevin Smith stepped in front of them in a flash, pointing at my nose and roaring, "Alice Lincoln, when will you stop? Mom and Dad have already compromised enough these days by letting you bring them in. What more do you want? Don't push your luck here and stir up trouble." And Sarah Smith was truly panicked. She definitely hadn't imagined that her attempt to frame me for pushing her would escalate to this extent. She kept explaining, "No, really not. Mom and Dad didn't tell me to push Uncle. I don't know what happened. I was about to fall, and Uncle and Aunt pulled me. By the time I came to my senses, Uncle had already tumbled down the stairs." I was screaming internally. Of course she doesn't know what happened. It was my dad who deliberately rolled down, but on the surface, I had to maintain my anger. I yelled at her furiously, "You don't know what happened. Then how did my dad fall? Could it be that he has a problem with his brain and rolled down on his own?" I then abruptly turned to all the guests, pinched my thigh hard, and my eyes instantly reddened. "Uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, did everyone see what happened?" Just because the journalists came to interview this morning and I had my adoptive parents give the interview, my biological parents held a grudge. They actually had their adopted daughter scheme to push my dad down the stairs, and now, I can't even get them to apologize to my adoptive parents. The guest seats erupted in an uproar. I had no idea Sarah Smith was adopted by the Smith family. This one is the real heiress of the Smith family. What the Smith family did is really not right. No matter what, they raised their daughter for over a decade, and that fall just now looked pretty serious. Yes, the kindness of raising a child is as weighty as a mountain. For a prominent family like the Smiths to act this way over a single interview is truly narrow-minded. These remarks pierced Mr. and Mrs. Smith's ears like needles. Mr. Smith's forehead was already bulging with veins, while Mrs. Smith's face was deathly pale, her body trembling slightly. Heartbreak value +10, current total 80%. The system is even more excited than I am. Host, this move of yours is awesome. The public opinion offensive is effective. Keep up the pressure. But I know the timing is about right. If I push any further, I'm afraid I might really go too far. And I don't want others to think I'm being unreasonable. I take a deep breath, put on a look of grievance and stubbornness, and stare firmly at Mr. and Mrs. Smith, saying word by word with determination, "Fine, since you won't apologize, then I'll leave. My adoptive parents have raised me for so many years, and now you're trying to frame them. They won't take this insult. From now on, I, Alice Lincoln, have nothing to do with your Smith family." After saying that, I didn't look at any of them again. I straightened my back and walked out, pulling my parents along with me. As soon as we left the banquet hall, my dad couldn't hold back his laughter. "Oh my, I almost couldn't keep it in just now. You didn't see the looks on their faces. It was just like watching a play, but they deserve it. If we hadn't come through, their daughter would have been driven to jump off a building and commit suicide. What use are parents like that?" My mom, on the other hand, pulled my dad around in a full circle before finally letting out a sigh of relief. "You really scared me. I thought you actually rolled all the way down. Thank goodness. It's just some scrapes, sweetie. Where should we go next?" I took both of them by the hand, one on each side, and said, "Let's go home. Let's go home and celebrate me becoming the top scorer." We returned to that small home, filled with traces of the original owner and her adoptive parents' life, very warm. The original owner must not have wanted to return to the Smith family either. That night, #Smith Group forces out top scorer biological daughter #, biological gratitude versus adoptive gratitude #, true and false era sequel and other topics directly surged to the top of the hot search list, setting the entire internet abuzz. Under several topics, netizens almost unanimously supported us. I didn't pay any more attention to it and just focused on preparing for my college celebration banquet. But the system seemed a bit anxious. They don't seem to be reacting anymore. The heartbreak value is stuck and not moving. On the other hand, looked completely relaxed and indifferent. What's the rush? The one who can truly hit them where it hurts hasn't even shown up yet. 3 days later, we held a lively celebration for my academic advancement in our own small courtyard. The yard was packed with neighbors, teachers, and classmates, all genuinely there to congratulate me. I specifically invited a few reporters to capture the lively scene of our family of three toasting with the neighbors. As soon as the photo was posted online, it received another wave of positive feedback. This is what a real home looks like, with such wonderful adoptive parents. Can't the Smith family make room for them? I think it's just their double standards. They can raise the fake heiress, but the real heiress can't be close to her adoptive parents. This comment really hit home. But the system prompt still hadn't changed, and the heartbreak value remained at 80%. I was just thinking about how to proceed next when the door was knocked early the next morning. As soon as I opened the door, just as I expected, it was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They were also holding several gift boxes that looked quite expensive at first glance. Mrs. Smith forced a strained smile and said, "Alice, we were wrong before. We apologize to you. Come home with us, and from now on, we'll live together as a family." Mr. Smith added with a stern expression and a stiff tone, "Your grandfather has spoken. He wants us to bring you back to the old house." Just as in the novel's setting, the only clear-headed elder of the Smith family, Old Master Smith, had made his appearance. In the original setting, Mr. and Mrs. Smith had kept the news of the original protagonist being found a secret from Old Master Smith. By the time he found out, all he saw was the original protagonist's body after she had jumped to her death. Old Master Smith had adored the original protagonist since she was born, and even after she went missing, he was the only one who disagreed when Mr. and Mrs. Smith wanted to adopt Sarah Smith. Back then, this incident had created a rift between them. I deliberately asked, "Oh, how did Grandpa know?" Mr. Smith's eyes flickered. I just saw it on the news. "Alice, go back with your mom and dad, okay?" I sneered inwardly but pretended to hesitate for a moment, then looked at my parents. "Dad, Mom, what do you think?" My dad snorted. "Sweetie, you decide. I'll support you no matter what." My mother then whispered, "Maybe we should go see him. We can't keep being at odds like this." I finally nodded. "All right, let's go see Grandpa then." When we arrived at the Smith family's old house, old Mr. Smith was sitting upright in the main seat. Upon seeing us enter, he actually stood up directly, bypassing Sarah Smith, who tried to step forward to support him, and quickly walked over. "Alice, my Alice, you've finally come back." He held me with trembling hands, a 70-year-old man crying with tears and runny nose. I patted his back and said, "Grandpa, I'm back." He kept asking me all sorts of questions for a long while before reluctantly letting go of my hand, finally looking at the parents beside him. "These two must be Alice's adoptive parents, right?" He grabbed my dad's hand and shook it vigorously. "Brother, I really can't thank you enough. You've raised my granddaughter so well. She even became the top scorer, bringing honor to our old Smith family." Then he turned to my mom. "Sister, you've worked hard too." My dad felt a bit embarrassed. "Old sir, you're too kind. Alice is our daughter too. It's only natural." My mother also quickly said, "No trouble at all, no trouble at all. Alice is very sensible." The old master nodded repeatedly. "Good, good, you're all genuine people. Come, sit right next to me." He personally guided my parents to sit in the seats next to the main position, pulling me to sit on his other side, completely ignoring the Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Sarah Smith and Kevin Smith who were following behind. Once the food was served, the old master kept putting dishes on the plates for me and my parents. He also came from a farming background, starting from scratch and working hard all by himself to build the Smith family's current wealth and prosperity. He chatted with my dad about the hardships of farming back in the day and taught my mom how to make better pickled cabbage, all while talking animatedly. Sarah Smith tried several times to cut in, sweetly calling out, "Grandpa, try this abalone, it's very fresh." The old man acted as if he didn't see her, turning instead to give me a piece of braised pork. "Alice, have this. You loved it the most when you were little." Even when Mr. and Mrs. Smith tried to interrupt multiple times, the old master cut them off. Throughout the meal, our side was filled with laughter and joy, while Mr. and Mrs. Smith remained like background props, their expressions extremely unpleasant. Finally, I heard the long-awaited prompt, heartbreak value +5, current total, 85%. After returning from the old house, I knew the time had come. These days, I had already secretly investigated Sarah Smith and found that she was far from the innocent and harmless person she appeared to be. Using the information provided by the system and the original host's memories, I quickly gathered solid evidence of Sarah Smith's school bullying, several clear videos and testimonies from the victims. I anonymously posted it all online. The hashtag Smith family fake heiress bullies classmates instantly sparked public outrage. With the severity of the situation and the undeniable evidence, the police quickly intervened, and Sarah Smith was taken away by law enforcement amid a wave of public condemnation. Mr. and Mrs. Smith tried every possible means but were powerless to change the outcome. Immediately after, I set my sights on Kevin Smith. Taking advantage of the opportunity to briefly stay at the Smiths' house and with the help of the system, I obtained solid evidence of his embezzlement and illegal transactions. A detailed report was sent directly to the Procuratorate. The news of Kevin Smith, the temporary head of the Smith Group, being taken away for investigation became the final straw that broke Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But the Smith Group did not fall. After all, Old Master Smith was the true one in power. Old Master Smith, knowing the disgraceful deeds his grandson had committed, immediately gave me his full support, and I, entrusted with this critical task, temporarily took over the struggling Smith Group. Sitting in the CEO's office, I quickly stabilized the situation. I sat in the office, waiting for Mr. and Mrs. Smith to arrive. The door was pushed open, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith walked in supporting each other. In such a short time, their hair had turned mostly white, and they looked haggard. Mrs. Smith almost threw herself at my desk, sobbing, Alice, now both Sarah and Kevin Smith are in prison. The Smith family can only rely on you. Your parents are counting on you to take care of us in our old age. Mr. Smith also burst into tears, his voice hoarse. Alice, blood is thicker than water. After all, you are our own flesh and blood. I set down the document in my hand and looked at them calmly, my face devoid of any expression. Flesh and blood, I repeated softly. Then laughed, a cold, mocking laugh. I stood up, walked over to them, and looked down at them from above. Are you all still living in a dream until now? To be honest, from the very beginning, I never intended to acknowledge you. I endured your hypocrisy and played along with you in this series of acts for only one purpose. I looked at their instantly pale faces and said, word by word, with utmost clarity, to take over Smith Group and ensure my parents can live the best life possible. Now the game is over. You are of no use to me anymore. This sentence completely shattered their last line of defense and illusions. Mr. Smith clutched his chest, coughing violently, with a trace of blood even trickling from the corner of his mouth. His hand trembled as he pointed at me. You've been scheming against us from the very beginning. Mrs. Smith collapsed to the ground, letting out a heart-wrenching wail. What did you say? You recognized us just so your adoptive parents could live a good life, otherwise, I sneered and retorted, was it for your cheap guilt, or for Sarah Smith's endless schemes? As soon as she finished speaking, I heard the system scream, it's done, heartbreak value plus 15, current total, 100%, ding, detected that the heartbreak value has reached 100%, ultimate task completed, reward settlement complete, teleportation channel opened. You can return at any time. Mrs. Smith seemed to suddenly realize what was happening and rushed over, trying to grab the hem of my clothes. No, Alice, you can't do this. We are your biological parents. I took a step back, coldly avoiding her touch. You are my biological parents, and you do love me, but dare you say who you love more between me and Sarah Smith? You would only choose her over me. Time and time again, I roared, as if trying to vent the injustice the original character in the setting had endured. Mr. Smith struggled to his feet, his face ashen. So you never intended to acknowledge us, only realizing it now. I pressed the intercom. Security, please escort these two to West Nursing Home. The procedures have already been taken care of. Ignoring their agonized screams and questions, I immediately instructed the staff to take them away. After settling everything, I finally reunited with my parents. My mother looked at me with concern. Are you okay, sweetie? Dad patted my shoulder. You did the right thing. Parents like that aren't worth it. If we hadn't come through, Alice would have been tortured to death by now. I smiled and linked arms with them. Let's go home, goodbye. With a flash of light, we completely vanished from this world, and as we left, the true owner of this body returned, the original protagonist of the novel. She possessed all the memories from my time-traveling experience and the original story's setting. She is no longer the true heiress who could be easily manipulated and ultimately meet a tragic end. Looking at the familiar face in the mirror, she whispered softly, "Thank you for everything you've done for me." Her fate has also been changed. Occasionally, she would visit Mr. and Mrs. Smith at the nursing home and calmly say under their hopeful gazes, "I will fulfill the legal obligations of support." But that is all. She lived in the old house with her grandfather, who truly loved her. And the garden was filled with her favorite flowers. For her, this might not be a traditional happy ending, but it was the fairest and most comforting outcome, and when we opened our eyes, we saw the stark white ceiling. The nurse exclaimed in surprise, "Doctor, the patient in bed 3 is awake." The three of us survived the life-threatening danger, returned with a huge bonus, and continued our happy lives. I understood immediately, after hearing the first story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The real heiress has returned. I, the fake heiress, set off firecrackers to welcome her, because now I can openly pursue my uncle. At the age of 18, he wore a suit and had long legs. With a perfect London accent, he had me completely mesmerized. When I finally traveled all the way to the UK to confess my feelings to him, he waved his hands in shock and said, "Hey, fairy, I'm your uncle." Things didn't turn out the way I had imagined. The real daughter was begged back by me. I am a love-struck fool. After falling in love at first sight with my uncle at 18, I often wished I wasn't the biological child, or that my father wasn't the biological child of my grandparents. My uncle can't not be my biological father, otherwise I'd be heartbroken. I kept insisting every day on taking a paternity test with my dad. He got so angry that he chased me with a golf club to hit me. My mother was wiping away tears beside me, who would wish they weren't their parents' biological child. I scurried away like a frightened mouse, feeling a bit guilty. It really did seem a bit unfair to my parents, so I said, "Then I wish Dad wasn't Grandpa's biological son." My dad swung the golf club even harder, as heaven willed it. I found out I really wasn't his biological child. Opportunity came too fast, like a tornado. I was having a meal at a restaurant with my girlfriends. One waitress was particularly eye-catching. The attractive parts looked almost exactly like my mom. The unattractive parts looked almost exactly like my dad. I don't believe they have no connection. The waiter was being harassed by a stupid asshole with a face full of meat. He was getting handsy with a beautiful young girl, and I couldn't stand it. So I stepped up and exchanged insults with him for 300 rounds. That idiot got sprayed by me until he was covered in dust and grime, then left cursing and grumbling. My heart is pounding wildly. The waitress thanked me. I took the opportunity to ask for a favor in return, requesting a strand of her hair. She became a bit wary and hesitated, unwilling to give it to me. Hilarious. Am I the kind of person who gives up easily? I knelt before her, tears and snot streaming down my face. "You look just like the sister I lost, and I really want to keep something to remember you by. Please, just give me a strand of your hair. Those who achieve great things don't bother with saving face." The waiter was stunned and at a loss. In the end, they gave me a lot of hair. There was enough left to test her and the whole family. I happily sent the hair for testing. A few days later, the results came out. I really am not their biological child. Upon hearing the news, my parents hugged each other and cried. I couldn't believe that my words had actually come true. My mother sobbed and asked me, "Rita, would you like to have an older sister? Even with another daughter, you will still be our treasure." I struggled to hold back my laughter. "Mom, have you forgotten that I've been dreaming of this day?" My father restrained himself, barely holding back the urge to grab a golf club. My mother also clicked her tongue at me in exasperation. In any case, their tears were diluted by my actions. That evening, my parents began preparing to bring my sister back. I am responsible for preparing the house for her return. As the car carrying my sister slowly drove in, I waved my hand and commanded, "Release." The butler bent down to light the fuse. The firecrackers crackled and popped. My mom got out of the car, holding my sister with one hand and me with the other. Her eyes were slightly moist. It was meant to be that I have two daughters in my life. Dad patted her shoulder. I didn't understand why, but I didn't pay it much mind. When my sister Jenny came home, aside from the surprise of recognizing me, there were no dramatic events. What happened back then was truly an unintentional mistake. My biological parents were very good to my sister, but unfortunately, they passed away in a car accident 2 years ago. I have no ill will toward my sister. My sister is also gentle and kind to me. Our family of 4 had a harmonious and pleasant meal together. At the dinner table, seeing that everyone had almost finished eating, I suddenly spoke up. Dad, Mom, I plan to study in the UK. My dad nearly choked on his drink. Why on earth would you want to go to a place where you can't even see the sun? Are you tired of living too comfortably now? My sister also anxiously said, I didn't come here to make you leave. She must have misunderstood. I lowered my head, planning to explain it to her later. I have no choice but to go. I need to pursue freedom and dreams. Everyone was happy. My father and sister both looked at me in surprise. Only my mother knows her daughter best. Forget freedom and dreams. I think this girl is lovesick. Although it was true, I still glared at my mother unhappily. My mother, didn't you write it in your diary? I was shocked. How dare you read my diary? My mom sneered. You can't even be bothered to close your diary after writing in it, and now you're blaming others for reading it. My dad was confused. Why go to the UK? Who's there? My mom spilled all my secrets. Who else? Your brother. My brother. My dad clearly didn't catch on at first. When he finally processed it, he looked at me in disbelief. What the hell are you thinking all day? Are you out of your mind? Whenever my dad gets really angry, he scolds me in our hometown dialect. I silently compared him to my uncle in my heart. One is gentle and refined, the other is a shrew scolding the street. I kept my head down and said nothing. How did you know? My mom spoke up for me. It's not so bad. At least he's not your biological brother. My dad looked at him with grievance. It's not your brother you like, so you're just making sarcastic remarks. Are you happy to call your daughter your sister-in-law? I remained silent. My mother said quietly, isn't that how we are? You never thought about what to do if your sworn brother became your son-in-law either. I didn't dare to speak. With that one remark, the whole family fell silent. In any case, I eventually boarded the plane to the UK. My dad grumbled as he saw me off. He called my uncle to ask him to take good care of me, but not too good. My uncle Chandler was woken up by a phone call at 4 a.m. The difference was immediately clear, after hearing his brother's nonsensical words. After a long silence on the other end of the phone, he said, okay. My sister sat beside me, not understanding why I was so happy. I said mysteriously, sister, you don't know what you've lost. You can't date the most perfect man in the world. 2 sentences left my sister speechless the whole way. I knew it. People like us, who are so love-obsessed, just can't connect with ordinary folks, so I decided not to bother her anymore. As I was leaving, I happily waved goodbye to my family. My mom pouted, and my dad held back tears. What's going on? It's as if I'm heading to my death. I shouted to my dad, Dad, look up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. That way, your tears won't fall. All eyes in the vicinity turned toward us. My father awkwardly buried his head in my mother's neck, as I gradually walked farther away. The figures of that family of 3 grew smaller and smaller. I know that with me around, my parents can't fully devote their love to my sister. During the days I'm not here, you two get along well. I'm off to enjoy some couple time. Just got off the plane and was greeted with a big surprise. My uncle's face first startled me with its handsomeness. A slightly old Ferrari is still a Ferrari after all. Looking down, the white shirt slightly revealed the skin tone. It made my heart race. Uncle, why did you come like this? I asked awkwardly, wondering if this old guy also had a crush on me. It's raining outside. Couldn't be bothered to use an umbrella. Uncle smiled and smoothed his half-wet hair. My eyes were glued to the sight. I silently prayed for it to rain every day in England, even if it meant my uncle would be drenched like a drowned rat every day. It wouldn't matter. As for me, my uncle's house was a standalone villa, filled with the scent of a single man. In the evening, my uncle ordered takeout. Just as I was about to eat the takeout, I shyly hinted to him, Uncle, I'm not my parents' biological child. Uncle paused mid-sip of water. He turned his head and looked at me with concern. You must be joking. Rita, as he spoke. He came over to feel my forehead. You don't have a fever either. I was annoyed by his lack of romantic understanding. I've hinted so obviously. And he still doesn't get what I mean. The biological child has already been recognized by our parents, and a paternity test has been done, I explained. My uncle was silent for a moment. After a long while, he slowly spoke. You can stay here with peace of mind, Rita. I won't make you leave. I suddenly looked up and saw the gentle gaze in my uncle's eyes. Did he misunderstand something? I am extremely satisfied. No one is driving me away. I insisted on coming out myself. I absent-mindedly scooped a mouthful of white liquid and shoved it into my mouth. Instantly, a peculiar taste shot straight to the top of my head. It makes me want to vomit and cry at the same time. Seeing me like this, my uncle looked at me with even more sympathy. I stayed at my uncle's house. Ever since the misunderstanding, my uncle has been especially concerned about me. I even heard him on the phone with my dad. I don't know if it was intentional or accidental. My dad was sound asleep when my uncle called and was woken up by the phone. My uncle said calmly, Rita is doing fine here. You all have a good life. There was a tone of reproach in his voice. My father was puzzled. You know about this? My uncle let out a heavy humph. My father sighed. Chandler, you need to be careful with that girl Rita. Bro, I really can't believe you're that kind of person. My uncle got angry immediately. Rita is perfectly fine. No need for you to worry. My dad also got angry. Just keep running with your pants on. Don't blame me for not warning you when the time comes. The call ended. My uncle sat quietly for a while, then got up to make a cup of coffee. When he finished making the coffee and turned around to see me, he was startled. Why are you walking so quietly? I shuffled over in small steps and hugged him from behind. My hands took the opportunity to mischievously feel his abs. That's really intense. My uncle touched my hand. Half to comfort, half to stop me. He probably thought I was upset because of my family of origin. Not really. I learned from 108 Ways of Love that sympathy and heartache are the beginning of love. Thank you, Mom and Dad. You're really my wingmen in love. I smiled happily. I am a good-for-nothing. Naturally, the degree I got in the UK is worthless. This led to me having a lot of time to pester my uncle. I started making bento boxes for him. British food is simply inedible. I followed the recipe and effortlessly made 2 dishes in one go. They looked great, and I was quite pleased with myself. Could it be that all my talent is in cooking? Packing the lunchbox, I'm taking it to Uncle to deliver his meal. When the secretary led me upstairs, Uncle was still giving instructions to his subordinates through the transparent door. Watching his confident and composed demeanor suddenly brought me back to that day when my heart first fluttered. Back then, after struggling through the college entrance exams, I traveled alone to the UK, still naive and unfamiliar with foreign customs. I was robbed of everything as soon as I got off the plane. I tearfully called my uncle. My uncle took me to the police station and spoke with the officers in a perfect London accent. Then he took me out to have fun all day to relax. In the evening, he ordered a beautiful cake. He said eating something sweet would make me feel better, although that cake was extremely sweet. But as I ate, I secretly watched his profile. I thought there was no one in the world more handsome than him. But why did he have to be my uncle? I felt a guilty conscience. I don't dare to see him again. Until today, I can finally walk into his life with confidence. After my uncle finished discussing work, I knocked on the door and entered his office. He looked surprised and said, Rita can actually cook. I nodded proudly. I placed the lunchbox in front of him. My eyes sparkled as I waited for him to taste it. I hadn't even taken a single bite myself. Uncle opened the lunchbox, and his face instantly froze. What kind of dish is this? He said in disbelief. I proudly introduced. This is strawberry stewed ribs and sweet and sour tomatoes. Following the routine is so boring. When cooking, I feel as if Einstein has possessed me, with endless interesting ideas. And I put them into action. My uncle held his chopsticks, reluctant to start eating. Finally, having admired it enough, he picked up a rib and took a bite. After finishing, he lowered his head, his shoulders still trembling slightly. He was actually moved to tears. I was very pleased. My uncle suppressed his voice. It's unique. Thank you, Rita. His voice still sounds so pleasant. I smiled and looked at him. If you like it, eat it all, Uncle. Uncle didn't come home that night. The secretary called and said my uncle was hospitalized, acute gastroenteritis. I rushed over to see him in a panic. Seeing my uncle lying in bed with a pale face, I felt very heartbroken. Uncle, what did you eat that made you like this? The secretary glanced at me silently. My uncle smiled weakly. Maybe the dinner wasn't very clean. I lay by his bedside, crying my eyes out with tears and snot. I was going to report that unsanitary restaurant on the spot. My uncle tightly grabbed my hand and said, "Running a business is tough, let's just forget about it." I sighed in admiration, thinking how handsome and kind-hearted my uncle was. I secretly rejoiced that I hadn't misplaced my affection for him. Seeing my uncle lying alone in the hospital bed with no one to take care of him, I asked, "Uncle, is there anyone coming to take care of you?" He smiled and said, "Aren't you here?" I suddenly felt the weight of the responsibility. "Uncle, don't worry, I'll stay with you. But it's not right for me to have no status or title. Here's what we'll do, you confess your feelings to me first, then I'll agree to be your girlfriend, and we'll get our marriage certificate tomorrow. That way, I can sign your surgery consent form." Uncle interrupted me. "Rita, what are you saying?" He looked at me with utter shock. "I'm your uncle." I smiled as I looked at him. "That makes it even more appealing." He was puzzled. "Why do you like me?" I hesitated, not wanting to explain my girlish feelings too clearly. "The way you talk is sexy." Chandler gasped for breath, his mind racing through his brother's cryptic words. "That girl Rita, she's got something for you." After a long while, Uncle finally calmed down. I excitedly rushed over to him, but Uncle blocked me with his hand. "Hey, watch it, I'm your uncle." I covered his mouth. "No, that's not how it happened." My face went blank, and I immediately deflated. Uncle has gone crazy. I got gastroenteritis and it fried my language center. He started speaking Sichuan Chongqing dialect directly to me. "Get me a glass of water, will ya?" he ordered me. I got up expressionlessly and poured a glass of water. "Can you pass me the trash can?" he said again after a short while. I stretched out my foot and kicked the trash can over to the side of his bed. He shook his head slightly. "What are you doing?" I watched him with a blank expression on my face. "Uncle, are you possessed by a ghost?" He laughed. "No way, I just want to speak my hometown dialect. It feels so familiar." "Don't call me uncle anymore. Call me uncle, uncle." That term really has a diminishing effect. I don't want to get close to him anymore. It seems like he has Sichuan peppercorns in his mouth. I lowered my head, my fingers typing frantically, asking my friend back home to find me a shaman. I want to perform an exorcism for my uncle. My sisters were very efficient and quickly contacted someone in London who works in this line of business. I immediately set off, boiled a pot of talisman-infused water, and brought it to the hospital. "Uncle, time to take your medicine," I said as I slowly approached with the bucket. My uncle subtly leaned back and said, "I don't recall the doctor prescribing any oral medication. This is the blessed water I bought for £1,888. It's quite expensive." Uncle looked extremely touched. He kept refusing, reluctant to drink it. Suddenly, the hospital room door was knocked. I turned around and saw a beautiful English girl. She was smiling slightly at me and my uncle. It set off alarm bells in my heart. I didn't even care about the talisman water anymore. "Chandler, are you okay?" This woman appears dignified, but she's actually wild. She rushed forward to give her brother-in-law a hug and a kiss. Luckily, I reacted quickly and held her tightly. "Miss, a gentleman uses his words, not his hands." She turned around and, catching me off guard, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. I touched my face and froze in place. Uncle suppressed a laugh. "Rita, are you okay?" "Of course I'm fine." I asked, "Who are you?" I chuckled. She laughed boldly. "I'm Lily, Chandler's admirer. So we're fans of the same person. Good taste." I also gave her a fragrant kiss. "What a coincidence. I'm also his admirer." Lily blinked and glanced at me. "Chandler's admirer, then let me test you. When is Chandler's birthday?" I was confident. It was too easy. November 18th. She, "What is Chandler's favorite animal?" Me, "Cats, but he's allergic to them." She, "How many teeth does Chandler have?" I said uncertainly, 28. She, "Lucky guess. Ultimate question. What color are Chandler's underwear today?" I really don't know that. "Do you actually know?" Lily gave a sly smile. "Of course I know. When he went to the bathroom, a bit of it showed. It was white." I admit defeat. My uncle was going crazy. can you guys not be like this? Just act normal, please. Obviously not. I have already started to learn from this sister as my teacher. She was also happy to be a mentor. In our line of work, the most crucial thing is the details. But don't worry about where those details come from. I took notes on paper. Pay attention to the details of the underwear. She continued to impart. Chandler is very aloof and hard to approach, so we need to be thick-skinned. I've been thinking about moving to be his neighbor recently, to see him every day. How far have you gotten? I threw down my pen and paper, forgetting my roots. I've already made my way into his inner circle, Lily exclaimed in frustration. I was just away on a business trip. You're quite the master of strategy. Soon she changed her expression like a Sichuan opera performer. Luckily, I also met a handsome French guy on this trip, so it wasn't a loss. I found Lily very interesting and exchanged contact information with her. My uncle was left out for a long time. Watching the two suitors getting along so well, I could only shake my head helplessly. Lily is gone. My uncle and I can also be discharged from the hospital. My uncle's gastroenteritis has healed. I am very happy, but my uncle still kept speaking the dialect. Sadness can't put food on the table. I changed my approach. My uncle spoke the dialect, so I followed along. This is what you call when the husband sings, the wife follows. When two people say the same thing, they seem more like a married couple. Uncle, I've brought you some food. I still tirelessly brought food to my uncle. Thank you. My uncle sat in his boss chair, smiling weakly. He looks like he's clearly suffering from low blood sugar and is starving. Ever since I started bringing meals to my uncle, he has been getting thinner and thinner, so I simply took over making his dinner as well. I won't let toxic takeout harm my uncle. My cooking skills are improving more and more. Every day's lunchbox has a little creative touch. Today's dishes are Fanta chicken wings and mango stir-fried pork, with winter jujubes and bananas for dessert. Uncle, are you free tonight? I said mysteriously. Nope, I have to have dinner with a client tonight, my uncle said helplessly. I was surprised. How could the British discuss work after hours? My uncle shrugged. It's not the British. It's a Chinese client. That makes sense. That's just how things are in our country. Since it's official business, I shouldn't disturb. In the evening, I turned on the light and waited on the living room sofa for my uncle to come home. I waited and waited, almost falling asleep. Only then did I hear the sound of someone coming in. Uncle, you're back. I rubbed my eyes and stood up. Rita, why aren't you asleep yet? My uncle's voice was very gentle, and his movements were light, but soon, his movements came to a halt. I am very sad. Surprise, I took out a ridiculously silly birthday hat and put it on him, then pulled him into the kitchen to see the birthday cake I had made. Uncle, are you so busy that you forgot your own birthday? I put my hands on my hips, feeling very proud. I certainly didn't forget. Since it was my first time making one, this cake isn't very pretty, but it's definitely made with high-quality ingredients. My uncle stared at the cake for quite a while. He touched the hat on his head and smiled gently. It's been so long since I last celebrated my birthday. It's no fun alone, so I just forgot about it. I don't know what's going on, I said happily. Now that there are two of us, isn't it more fun? I didn't expose my uncle. The photo on his office desk was a group picture from his 18th birthday. It's just that, approaching 30 and being in a foreign country, the liveliness of the past is gone. Warm wishes have turned into cold red envelopes. Celebrating a birthday alone feels desolate. Might as well deliberately forget. He doesn't say it, but I know. I lit the candle and asked him to make a wish. Uncle closed his eyes, his expression gentle, but he still couldn't resist teasing. You're making me look so silly. Fine. When cutting the cake, Uncle took the first bite, then his face immediately turned bright red. I thought he was happy, until he couldn't help but start coughing. I finally realized something was wrong and took a sip myself. I think I mixed up matcha and wasabi. Life just keeps flowing on like a stream. The good news is, my uncle gradually let down his ethical guard around me. He finally stopped treating me like his little niece, just as my confidence was growing day by day. My parents brought my sister to visit me in the UK. How can I make any progress with my parents around? They're such a stumbling block to my love life. But I still went to the airport to pick them up with great joy. As soon as we met, my father gave me a thorough once-over from head to toe. Only after finding nothing amiss did he breathe a sigh of relief. My mother looked at him with disdain. You really have no faith in Chandler. My father curled his lip and said, "I'm just not at ease with this girl." I angrily punched him. My father continued, "She's raised so well, everyone wants to get close." I blew him a kiss. My uncle hasn't gotten off work yet. My father personally cooked an authentic Sichuan meal. Just the smell alone made my mouth water. My sister and my mother quietly asked me, "Did your plan work?" I smiled confidently, "Piece of cake." Then I showed them photos of the meals I cooked. I cook for my uncle every day. Really winning him over through his stomach. My sister and my mom exchanged a glance and fell silent. After a while, my mom sent me a recipe. He remarked, "If you keep feeding people shit, no one can save you. They just don't appreciate it. What else? You can't win someone over with just that." My mom started giving me advice. I thought for a moment, then fell silent. My mom asked, "Who does the housework?" I thought of the mess I made at home every day and said shamefully, "My uncle does it." "Have you prepared any surprises?" I thought about the mess left on my birthday, which my uncle ended up cleaning up, and my face flushed. "I guess so." "My mom, have you ever given her flowers or anything like that?" I haven't really given her anything like that properly. Whenever I see beautiful flowers, I take photos and show them to him. I take pictures of everything beautiful and interesting to show him. I burst into tears of joy. It seems I still have to keep working hard. When my uncle came home from work, he saw our whole family sitting together neatly, playing mahjong. My parents even brought a mahjong set with them. You could say they really love playing it. "Bro, sis-in-law, why didn't you let me pick you up?" My dad was surprised. "You little rascal. Still using local slang even when you're abroad. You really never forget your roots." He was very happy. I smiled wryly. My dad glared at me again. The first time my uncle met my sister, he gave her a big red envelope filled with pounds. Then he handed me another one, saying he couldn't favor one over the other. I shook my head vigorously and said I didn't want it. If I accepted it, wouldn't that imply I'm also a big niece? I'm the woman who's going to be the little aunt. So I turned around and gave my sister a red envelope too. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to hide it from my dad, and he gave me a solid knock on the head that left a bump. During dinner that night, I saw my uncle eat 3 bowls of winter vegetable porridge. Doesn't he usually get full after just half a bowl of rice? I must be feeling nostalgic after eating hometown food. Next time, I'll make him strawberry mapo tofu. We chatted while eating. My uncle and my dad were talking about business matters. I couldn't understand it, nor did I want to listen, so I awkwardly changed the subject. "Dad, how did you ask Grandpa for Mom's hand in marriage when you were young?" As soon as the words were spoken, everyone turned their gaze toward me. Why bring this up all of a sudden? My father was a bit angry and secretly glanced at my uncle. He's afraid my little uncle will learn from him. What a double standard. He can do it himself, but he won't allow my little uncle to do it. My little uncle doesn't know much about this matter. After all, he was still just a little kid back then. "What's wrong?" "Afraid to own up to what you did," my mom said coldly, expressionlessly putting meat in my and my sister's bowls. "That definitely wasn't my wife. I was afraid my dad's henpecked nature showed a glimpse, as he gave my mom an ingratiating smile, but still stammered and couldn't say anything. "Humph, let me tell it." My mom didn't hesitate at all, and everyone at the table pricked up their ears. Actually, the matter was quite simple. When my dad was young, he and my grandpa were good friends despite their age difference. My great-grandmother really recognized my father as her godson. As a result, when my father saw my mother, it was love at first sight. The key point was that my mother had already been promised to someone else by my grandfather. "Dad, so you were the third party who ended up winning." "What mistress? How can you call true love being a mistress?" My father was furious with embarrassment. My mother truly had no feelings for her ex-fiancé. He had already found love elsewhere. What a joke. But before we could tell Grandpa about it, he found out about my parents' affair. It made him furious. He no longer recognized my father as his brother. Rather than being a sworn brother, being a son-in-law suits me better. My father felt no guilt for betraying his brother, only pride in his successful rise to power. Strange, he should be a role model for our generation. I stole a glance at my uncle. He responded with a light chuckle. Is he enlightened or not? If he's not enlightened, then wasn't my effort in vain? A man's heart is as deep as the ocean, so hard to understand. After my parents and sister left, I returned to my aimless life. Lily came to find me, saying she wanted to take me to see a show that was absolutely unmissable in London. I didn't realize until I got there that it was Magic Mike. I'm a girl from a good family, this kind of show, of course. I have to buy VIP tickets and watch it to my heart's content, of course. I behaved properly and didn't do anything to let my uncle down. As for women, if they aren't attracted to beautiful bodies, it just means they don't know how to appreciate things. I know my place. After the show, it was already midnight, and it suddenly started to rain. Holding an umbrella, I saw over 10 missed calls on my phone, all from my uncle. I just made a mistake that every woman in the world would make. It won't be discovered, right? I nervously called back, my voice trembling. Uncle, is there something you need? Uncle's voice carried a hint of anger. Rita, where are you? It seems he's really angry. He's not even speaking Sichuan dialect anymore. I honestly reported my address. Uncle just said, wait there, and hung up the phone. It looks like he's coming to pick me up. I was dumbfounded. It was hard to get a taxi in the rain. When my uncle arrived, I was standing alone under a streetlight with an umbrella, waiting for him. Lily had been picked up by her French boyfriend a few minutes earlier. Seeing how pitiful I looked, my uncle's angry expression softened. What are you standing there for? Get in the car. Having just finished a burger, a portion of fries, and a Coke, I happily got into the car. Next time you come home late, remember to let me know. In the car, my uncle reminded me while driving. Then there was a moment of silence. As we were almost home, my uncle suddenly said, don't go to that kind of show again. What kind of decent, good man would be in this line of work? Feeling guilty, I didn't dare look at him and casually agreed, I won't go again. It wasn't even good. At the same time, my heart was frantically apologizing, trembling, and repenting. Besides, their figures might not even be as good as mine. You can look at mine. After saying that, my uncle didn't look at me again. With that said, I no longer felt remorseful or guilty. I felt as if I had ascended to immortality. It took me a long moment to slowly realize, should a niece be allowed to see her uncle's abs? Only my aunt can see it, right? Am I really going to become my aunt? Is that what it means? I officially started getting close with my uncle. He tacitly accepted my pestering, even more delightfully. My uncle finally gave up his hometown dialect, which was full of sexual shrinkage. From time to time, he would even flirt with me in a London accent. It simply made me so happy that I was bubbling with joy. While I was making the PPT, he put aside his work to help me look up information. A good man is one who helps others with their homework, but from time to time, he would say something I couldn't understand. Bright sunlight shines upon the earth, and the brilliant moonlight kisses the ocean waves. But what does any of it mean? I blinked. Isn't this meaningful enough? You're being greedy, Uncle. Uncle smiled helplessly without saying a word. The setting sun outside the window cast its glow on his profile. It was as if a deity had descended to the mortal world. This ignorant cow was stunned, until a message came from back home. It shattered the peaceful life. My mother called me, her voice trembling. Rita, you are our biological daughter. The phone in my hand suddenly fell to the ground. It shattered. I am my parents' biological daughter. My sister is also my parents' biological daughter. My mother was pregnant with fraternal twins at the time. The child my sister's adoptive parents gave birth to was a girl who had passed away, but the nurse mixed up my sister with that girl. I nodded. My sister has been living away from home for so many years. No wonder my mom said she was meant to have 2 daughters, so I still can't be with my uncle. I cried so much that my eyes swelled up like walnuts. He curled up under the covers and refused to come out. My uncle patted my blanket. He said, I'm sorry, in a hoarse voice. I can't stand it when people say that to me. I widened my eyes. I poked my head out, like a turtle peeking out of its shell. Uncle, it seems our fate with Uncle has come to an end. Uncle also sighed. What does this mean? Only then did I notice his eyes were also red. What should we do then? Big niece girl. We tacitly use this address. Tacitly no longer mention the past. Talk is talk. Fooling around is fooling around. But when it really comes to lonely problems, we can't joke about it. But I don't know why, my tears still uncontrollably fell. My uncle gently wiped them away and gave me a warm, comforting hug. I called my mom, and she was crying so hard she couldn't speak. I comforted her instead. It's not a done deal yet. Even if you want to see an orthopedist, I can't let you. My mother wiped her tears. This is the first time I've shipped a pseudo-sibling couple. And it ended in tragedy before it even began, I pouted. Not knowing whether to laugh or cry, my dad didn't call. He got so angry upon hearing the news that he fell ill and was hospitalized. When he was taken away by the ambulance, his 2 fingers were still pointing to the west. No one else understood what he meant, only my mother knew. I'll call Rita back from the UK right away. Only then did my father feel at ease as he was taken away by the ambulance. I ended up returning to my home country alone. When I was leaving, my uncle and I said our goodbyes at the airport. I was carrying a suitcase that contained all of my belongings. My uncle stared at me for a long time. Finally, he patted my shoulder with a slightly trembling hand. I could still feel that gentle gaze following me. Perhaps, once we part ways this time, we may never meet again. When I returned home, Dad was still in the hospital. Mom is at the hospital with him. And only my exhausted sister is at home. Seeing me, my sister smiled gently and said, "Don't be afraid, Rita, no matter what happens, I will always stand by your side." I couldn't hold back my tears any longer and hugged her, sobbing uncontrollably. I was crying when suddenly the doorbell rang. My sister went to open the door, and a man around 30 years old was standing outside. I struggled to open my eyes, which were swollen like peaches, and asked, "Who are you? How come he looks exactly like my father?" As if carved from the same mold, the man smiled and said, "Is this the Chandler residence? I'm here to look for relatives." His tone had a distinct J-City accent, going around in circles. My sister and I exchanged glances. Both of us had doubt in our eyes. The man took out a paternity test. "Bob seems to be my brother." I was almost horrified, snatching the report and flipping through it hastily. I then hurriedly grabbed my phone to call my dad. "Dad, your younger brother is here." My father examined him carefully, then scrutinized the paternity test report just as thoroughly. I quipped, "He looks more like you than your own reflection. Why bother checking so meticulously?" My father shot me a glare. Then, in a gentle and soft voice, he asked John what exactly had happened. John said that he came from the Duncan family in J-City. Not long ago, he discovered that he was not the biological child of the Duncan family and began searching for his biological parents. His parents had already passed away, so he found his older brother, that is my father, and my uncle Chandler is the biological child of the Duncan family, who was switched at birth with him. When the truth came out, my mother muttered, "Is there something a bit off about our family?" She plans to contact a Taoist priest to perform an exorcism for the house. Only I was crying with joy, holding my real uncle's hand. I kept welcoming him, more sincere than my own father. My father was no longer sick and was discharged from the hospital that very day. I went home and had a meal with my uncle. The next day, I flew directly to the UK with my untouched luggage. In just a few days, our relationship has been so full of ups and downs. Even novels don't write stories like this. At the airport, my uncle and I hugged each other tightly. At that moment, I finally felt at ease and whispered in his ear, "Uncle, we have to stay together forever." My uncle tried to cover my mouth with his, "Don't call me that, please spare me." I burst out laughing. I turned and walked away. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.